traders, evening. It's Tuesday and April 13th after 2 weeks of a Nasdaq rotation that I called early on Wednesday the 31st of March, right before ARK and all things ARK top 10 plays started taking off, and they have continued very strongly. In fact, the rotation has picked up some speed, and I want to talk about that and revisit some charts and some new calls that I have made that might be of help in navigating this melt-up market. So we have, first and foremost, let's go back to my original post where I was mentioning I saw the impulse higher in not only Nasdaq but also all things ARK, and I kind of deemed this video that I did a few days ago all things ARK that I listed on YouTube, but in fact was the morning call that I had made for clients in their client Slack channel, that basically big breakout in Nasdaq and all things hyper growth was occurring, and I was bullish this whole segment based on the Q gamma roll off, end of month post pension rebalancing, positioning for April, seasonality, short covering, and then just lots of tech and tech ETFs on major support areas. So my focus was that if we had follow through by Tuesday, which was basically right after Easter, that all things ARK would determine the direction of the market for the next couple of weeks, and I believe it has. So this was a call that I had made to clients on March 31st, and I did actually a video a week later letting non-clients know kind of how I work in regards to making these rotational calls, and it was a good one. The top 10 plays have produced very large outsized results, and this is just a sampling. So basically all things in this top 10 list for ARK have been hot fire flames with the exception of Baidu, and I had also mentioned I was not at all interested in Baidu or any China ADR. So that was the one exception to the rule. I also didn't think biotech was ready for the races, and TDOC had a lot of work to do. Zoom actually just took off today. We timed that extremely well in the live trading room. I will go over that shortly. ARK is actually just breaking out after 3 days from the 31st through the first 3 days of April. It actually did really well, then went sideways for a week, and now today it has continued. I've posted levels for clients as well. Spot, Zillow, Shop, Twilio has been phenomenal. Tesla obviously has been the largest mover today in my hot list. You can see it was up 8%, and that was just at 241. We actually closed stronger, and ROKU has been a darling as well. Again, as of 241 today, was up 21%. So all things ARK was kind of a cheeky little way of saying Nasdaq was going to have a nice move, and it did. So let's look at the charts. But for right now, the Qs have formed a really nice scoop pattern on the weekly. I referenced that in my last video, and in particular, this is the 31st. So Wednesday morning, we did a great job of opening up very strongly with solid follow through. Had a few days of sideways. This is Tuesday the 6th where I said if we don't reverse here, then we're going to go higher, and we did a nice job of continuing. Of the big tech plays that I was most excited about, the easiest one that I wrote about for two clients was for Apple. It had, again, this great scoop pattern. There's some key moving averages on a weekly. It was literally a gorgeous move on the 31st. Thursday the 1st, Friday was closed for Easter and Passover celebrations last week, but this continued strongly Monday all the way up, and this was then my price target of 135.50 level by level. Apple was not only a really high performer in big tech, we also had Google, which was a nice call as well, which I also emphasized in the video last week, that this was strength, as was Microsoft. Again, this is all from that 31st impulse higher and follow through. So big tech had really performed well, with emphasis, at least in my trading room, for Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. Amazon was another one that as soon as it hit this 3240 and 3115 was the trigger long, again, going to a daily. This is Wednesday 31st, when I said Nasdaq was likely to have a strong rotation, and then all things ARK, we're going to go over those plays. Look at the strength of that move. It's been fabulous. If you take a look at NYFANG, which is equal weighted FANG stocks, you can see this just straight up move off the 100-day. So very nice performance relative to the weakness in small caps, which has been really doing nothing. And we'll talk about SPY kind of separate, because right now this whole focus has been in follow-up on the ARK theme. So I had mentioned I was not interested at all in Baidu or any of the China ADRs. I also didn't think that CRISPR, although I think this might be a great play in years moving forward, and it's just snaking around the 200-day, is just not really in biotech rotation land. It likely will become a nice rotation, but right now it's just out of favor. TDOC was one that I also wasn't interested in, of the top 10 for the ARK ETF, and of which there are 5 main Cathie Wood ETFs. But this is the largest one, and most importantly has the momentum plays that had my attention back on the 31st. And only recently did Zoom actually have a nice candle of reversal higher. This was my highest probability chase this morning in my live trading room, and I'll tell you why. And then we'll go back to the top performers in ARK. So back when this was gyrating and all the other ARK plays had taken off beautifully, Zoom did not. And in fact, I was watching this apex of the wedge with clients in my live trading room and posting on Slack my analysis for this Nasdaq rotation and all things ARK and specific levels. But Zoom had disappointed because it did not break above this trend line, which was going to be the go long trigger. It actually failed, no position yet because there's still no trigger. And then this morning, it was gorgeous. This is a pre-market candle right here. Literally pre-market, I said this is a high probability long, as long as it stays above this 328, which is this trend line. Okay, trend lines are kind of cool. This is an hourly. This is the daily. Didn't look like it would, move like this to others, but it looked like it would move like this to me because I've been stalking these Nasdaq tech setups, both the big cap as well as the mid cap and the laggards. And Zoom had been one that had not yet played catch up, and today it pretty much did all of it. So my price target in the room was very clearly, let me just show you right now. I go into my Slack channel and I can show you that I had posted this in my room, that basically today's highest probability, this is this morning, was going to be, what time was that anyway? 10:28 a.m. Okay, it needs to stay above 328, then it will trigger swing long at 332. So that is exactly what happened, and it shot up beautifully, almost 7%. So do I think this has strength to continue? Yup. So one day wonder? Possibly, but I thought that was a great setup higher, and it triggered. So ARK is another one where I mentioned this particular day, which was the bullish engulfing candle on Tuesday the 31st. On the 31st, Wednesday morning pre-market, is when I said, hey, all things ARK and Nasdaq rotation. We then went sideways, as you can see, from this candle, which is Thursday the 1st, all the way through until today. And literally in my trading room and on my Slack channel, I did give levels as well, and I will show you those and the timestamps, which is okay. So in my Slack, I'm just basically typing in ARK, and so anything that I wrote that's ARK related, it's going to appear. So basically, I've been really kind of on this already since, excuse me, I will just scan here. Okay, good morning, here we are, end of month. ARK looks really good. Top 10 in particular look really good. Here's ARK again, all things ARK kind of day on the 31st. Very tradable signal. ARK again. I'm posting this particular chart over and over and over again because I really think from the 31st in the afternoon, this was already positive across the board. Beautiful move, and then you just saw the most recent one where they're up to 20% returns in some of these independent plays in the last 2 weeks. So I've been, just really into this particular move. Qs were already up as of April 5th, almost 4%, and it looked bullish. The whole thing just looked bullish. So most recently gave level, which was today, in regards to, guess what? ARK looked like it's going to break out. Not done. Even though the top 10 holdings had performed beautifully, holding 124.63 on a daily is a swing long trigger to 126.30, then 128.14. So what do we have in ARK as of today? We closed at 127.56. So that 127.56 was basically already piercing the 38 fib retracement level on way to the 50% fib retracement level, which is this 128. And the 61.8 fib retracement level is about 130. So this, to me, still has a good few days to go, likely up to 132.5. So ARK is still in play. Going further, and you can see how it kind of lists all this out in advance so folks can continue to stay long, or if they want to enter, they've got some price targets and of course in stop losses as well from where it broke out. DOCU was an excellent example, was not even in my ARK list, but today was absolutely a trigger of excitement for me because it has been a laggard, if you will, and I think a few of the laggards will play catch up like Zoom, but this shot through 4 levels, maybe 5 levels of resistance and closed really well. So there's definitely a bid in the software application plays and all things ARK. Tesla was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, this was one of the greatest impulses, if you will. Let me show you that. All right, so Tesla, since that March 31st trigger at 643, is now up to 757. So a very big move, 17.5%, and that was just as of the afternoon. ROKU up 21% as of this afternoon. And let me show you these on the chart. So this again is that bullish engulfing on Tuesday the 30th, and then on the 31st for both ARK and Tesla. I said this is a go long. Did get above the trend line, came back to the 21, held beautifully, and then most recently triggered on Monday the 12th, and today was up 8.6%. So every level that I've given has actually been taken out, and I say that because in Slack I had posted 713. Each level basically had to stay above a certain level in order to trigger higher, which was a 692 to 733 to 762. I mean, literally this has been a fabulous move, whether chasing the most recent 2 days or coming back in, entering this trade on the 31st. Either way, it's been outstanding. ROKU, same thing. This triggered on the 31st and has moved decisively higher, sideways breakout, It's already above the 10-week and 21-week, which is 363, and 379, which is the prior breakdown on the daily. So ROKU and Tesla have definitely done well in leaderboard, if you will, but I think option-wise, they are just obviously much stronger chases or swings. I'm not sure if these are going to develop trends higher, but for right now, this is 2 weeks of solid buying and follow through and option activities. So some of the smaller ones, TLWO, Shop, Z, and Spot, we'll go over that real quick as well. TLWO was an early one. You can see this continuation. Again, this is very constructive. shop, you got on a weekly, also above the 10-week, and that was something I had put last week, that a lot of these tech plays that had sold off between 20 and 40% back in the February into March timeframe were consolidating and then needed to get caught up above their 10-week. And so that's what they have done just in the last week or two. So some of the other plays, because I was looking at obviously the bounces on technical support and all things ARK, I was also looking at PayPal with clients, set that up. That has been a phenomenal continuation play, in large part because Bitcoin has moved higher into 63,000, and they have, you know, pieces of this on their board. I've been very strong in the Bitcoin trust because it has not broken any trend and had this wedge. This obviously followed through to the upside. Same thing with MSTR, which I have written about and done YouTube videos about in the past. This was just a matter of time. It stayed also above the 10-week and looked very bullish, and it has now cleared the channel, which prior had formed an island reversal, which was very bearish, which is why I think it took so long for this to kind of build up the energy to get back and above. But getting back into some of the tech plays that are outside Bitcoin, because obviously ARK did well and it's a binary trade. ARK has a lot of Bitcoin trust. Tesla has a lot of Bitcoin. PayPal Square, again, as Bitcoin rises, the ARK trade in Tesla and GBTC are all very binary trades. So that's why I suggested this basket. All right, a few more points before I close, and that is some of this I talk about in my live trading room. Obviously, there's a lot more commentary and scoping of trade rotations and actual setups and then timing of it, because I'm obviously right in front of the screen. The rest I am populating in Slack. So this is a situation where on occasion there are even shorts, not a lot right now, but GameStop, for example, and then I will post my levels. Yesterday I had two shorts, AMD and DraftKings, and they both triggered and worked. Apple has been along for a while, as you can see back on April 8th, for example, I mentioned since 124, this was before, it moved up to 130 on way to 135.50 price target. I do the same thing with updating Tesla and other key stocks of interest across 3 time frames: chase, swing, and trend. So you can see the activity is pretty busy within the chase and the swing time frames because there's lots going on there. But it's not the only thing I'm tracking, especially in tech. RBLX has been a trend idea that I've had since IPO. I'm very impressed by this disruptive stock. So this is actually not a chase or a swing, although the price has moved dramatically today in particular. I recommended this again as RBLX as a bullish disruptive stock as long as it stayed above 64.50, and it was $74 on April 9th. Again, keep in mind, Nasdaq rotation, this is doing well. It had already been bullish, hadn't broken down below the 64.50 or the 10-week. Well, it had a very nice push yesterday into 77. 79.10 was my price target. Today it blew right through that, hitting 82 bucks. So as long as it closes above 79.10, which was the prior target, I think this is going to be an if 80 then 100 stock sooner rather than later. But it didn't have anywhere near the amount of option call buying as a Tesla. And I take this particular graph from a webinar interview that I did with Jonathan Gibbons of Big Tech IO today, where we do our Tuesday macro to micro power hour, and he demoed their new lead product of Options Matrix, which allows for the visualization of option buying and selling across the spectrum. Obviously, you know, they're onto something here, because you can tell that the option market in Tesla just dwarfed everything else. Like, look at this, 1.2 billion in options traded hands today. This is an aggregate. So there's some very aggressive moves that are also displayed through the option market. So I'm checking that out while I'm making these calls, which are technical with levels, while I'm making this list for clients to go fishing, while I'm also going in and posting my market thoughts every single day to remind folks what's working. So this is my service of live trading room in the Slack channel. This particular market breadth has been kind of neutral, but honestly, with small caps weak and Nasdaq strong, proving all things ARK continues to really work, with the exception of Chinese ADRs. I'm definitely bearish on that. I had been also promoting a reflation pause, in other words, reopening and yield curve flattening and energy softening before learning today of the J&J vaccine that was causing potential blood clots and states petitioning to remove until, guilty until proven innocent. We do need a vaccine in order to have a vaccine rainbow, but that just was a narrative that followed already a market analysis that said, really, just Nasdaq, all things ARK. And this is my follow-up video in regards to that trade. I think it does have a little bit more to go. We do have options expiration coming up very soon in regards to not just VIX tomorrow and the Coinbase IPO, but monthly on Friday. Then we typically have softening into the end of the month. So just keep that in mind, as these trades are very bullish and they look like they're picking up even more attention now after 2 weeks of already having strong sponsorship. I can see a case for a market melt up, no question. We'll see if it starts to mirror 2000. I don't know about that. We definitely have no one paying attention to risk, it seems, and yet in the option market there are more hedges the higher we go. So there are hedges being accumulated, protection if you will, the higher we go. Keep that in mind as you work this trade. I wanted to mention one more little tool that I have used, I have found very helpful. So even if I have a macro backdrop to make a market timing call like this Nasdaq rotation, and particularly identify a basket trade for clients, and then I will give technical levels. I do use intermarket, I use sentiment, quant, the whole gamut, fundamentals even when it comes to earnings and the like. But what I find really helpful is confirmation. So one of the tools that I have in my toolbox is scanning abilities. They're custom scans. They're specific to my pattern recognition sensibilities, if you will. And one that I'm showing you right now is in fact a weekly scan that I do. I do it actually every single morning, but it comes in the first 15 minutes and it records for me the strength of the 15-minute bar across options, and I'm looking for specific setup. And it was very strong today. So the stocks that I've already mentioned to you and to clients posted in Slack, and that includes a whole bunch of cloud plays too that I haven't even gone over. PayPal and Square and Crowd and ZS and Team, and it goes on and on. It has been a very busy NASDAQ rotation, but it's also augmented by the fact that even my scans are picking up. Today, for example, the same stocks I've been talking about. So this is a list. You can see 360 items in this list. I just grabbed the first 25, if that, to see how many of them were in my basket. And I had MSTR, RBLX, Tesla, of course, and here's a 15-minute to show when this triggered. And obviously it was incredibly powerful all day, never even came back down intraday to tag a lower level, and it had lots of subscription for, and you could already see 2 billions in option contract flow. So all of these, that it's interesting. I even mentioned Overstock, over 73 to clients. CrowdStrike for sure, early on that one. Zoom, Spotify, DOCU. This is very much supportive of my analysis. So I will find something that's narrative and then support it with technicals, intermarket. This is very much quant based, as are my risk indicators to kind of go with the flow. Anyway, this is what you get. My live trading room, my Slack workspace. I am very excited to engage with clients when they have interest in getting me to assess or analyze custom chart levels and time frames and option tactics. But I wanted to kind of show how we got here in loading the ARK, all things ARK, and then other tools in my toolbox that I'm using to support that analysis. Hope it helps, and I would love if you would join me, but also for the time being, give me a thumbs up on this video. I'll do more of them, and you'll get some more of my analysis. It might help navigate this market melt up, which it seems we are firmly in, at least for the time being. Not sure what's going to happen next, I'll be perfectly honest. I like this rotation, but I also have a very risk-aware mind, and I see some divergences happening under the surface that are going to present some very large drawdowns, but they haven't triggered yet, so make hay while the sun shines, as they say, or smoke them if you got them. In the meantime, I would appreciate if you could like this video. Feel free to engage. Feel free to check out a weekly pass if you want to come into my live trading room and snoop around my Slack channels.